artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT and Gemini are evolving fast, and now agentic tools that can perform complex tasks are raising questions about the future of white-collar jobs. Now, OpenAI and Google have launched AI coding agents that could likely replace entry-level engineers. In fact, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei has issued a stark warning, predicting that up to 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs could disappear in the next 1 to 5 years. Now, despite this warning, Google CEO Sundar Pichai remains optimistic. Speaking with Lex Fridman, he revealed that 30% of code at Google is now AI-assisted, freeing up engineers for higher-level work. Now, Pichai also emphasized that Google still plans to hire more software engineers in the near to mid-term. Meanwhile, there are also companies like Meta and LinkedIn, which are pushing AI-first hiring policies, marking a major shift in how roles are defined and filed in the age of artificial intelligence and intelligent machines. Now, some of the data seems to be quite startling, especially for those looking to start off their careers around now. Let's look at what the World Economic Forum says. Well, the World Economic Forum projects that as many as 83 million jobs could be lost globally by the year 2027, primarily affecting entry-level roles. Now, it's not just the World Economic Forum. Even Goldman Sachs has estimated that as many as 300 million full-time jobs could be affected in advanced economies. Let's look at some more data, especially that coming from Fortune 500 companies. Internship offers from these Fortune 500 companies has dropped as much as 22%. That's 1 in every 5 internships, a little over that, not being offered between the years 2022 and 2024. The internships in the technology sector, the IT sector, has declined by as much as 1/3. Now, there's also data that suggests that for every new AI job, 2 to 3 junior jobs disappear or are never posted. Well, we have a very special guest joining us this morning, Prabir Jha, distinguished HR strategist as well as founder and CEO of Prabir Jha People Advisory. Mr. Jha, good morning. Thank you for taking the time. How real is the job loss threat and how damaging do you think it will be?
Good morning, Karthik. Always a pleasure. And no, it is a scare for sure. It's a very serious scare because you've shared some bit of the data already. And the fact is the trend is going to be secular. It will continue to kind of intensify. What the numbers would be, we don't know yet. At least I don't know. Because it could intensify, it could possibly take a different shape. But the fact that the entire arena of work across sectors and industries is getting reshaped is a given. The fact that many jobs which were hitherto just routine engineering jobs, whether it was in software or otherwise, that is going to get impacted. But I would tend to agree more with what you shared from Sundar's perspective. The trend of decline is clear.
Right.
But does it mean that all jobs or all internships are going to disappear? Not likely. But it will definitely see a major reinvention. So
All
that
right.
is a scare for sure.
Right. So, of course, major reinvention, I think, is not something that a lot of job seekers out there would be fearful of. In fact, they may want to get trained on AI to be able to use it better. But it seems that the immediate threat, Mr. Jha, comes only for entry-level employees. At this level, is it safer to assume in that sense that senior level jobs are going to be a little easier to protect, if I can put it that way, at least for now, because that is where decision making and experience comes in, and that is something that AI, at least in the immediate future, may not really be able to replace.
I agree with you, Karthik. The middle and the entry-level jobs are going to be most vulnerable. In fact, middle, I will be even more worried about because entry, you can rethink your start strategy. You can rethink your industry strategy or career strategy and all that. Middle is you're already on the boat in the middle of the sea.
Right.
What do you do? So I think senior level jobs, because of some strategic perspective, the ability to still integrate, the ability to still think differently, and the fact that senior level jobs relatively are lesser in numbers than middle and junior level jobs, are likely to see a little bit more of protection. It's not that everyone is safe, but entry jobs, definitely that's, a block that I see happening, but I'm particularly worried about middle-level jobs because if people do not reinvent themselves and reinvent very fast, learn a different thing, I really worry many of them are not likely to have jobs a year, 2 years from now.
Oh my God, Mr. Shah, you're scaring me this morning. I happen to be in that bracket. Well, I was just losing hair until now. I think I'm going to start losing some sleep as well. But I want to understand now from you the larger impact of these job losses on economies. Now, there are going to be no jobs. That means there are going to be no consumption, fewer tax collection, lesser tax collection for governments. How are economies going to work if jobs become harder to come by and employees find it harder to hold on to their jobs? Where are the taxes going to come from and where is the consumption going to come from?
So one is, the direct tax versus the indirect tax approach. I overall think economies will still do better.
Okay.
Companies which are able to reimagine and reinvent themselves are definitely going to have, cost edge. They will do better, and therefore the tax collection will come. It's almost like what we see in India. The direct taxes, the GST equivalent, that is increasingly becoming the bigger pie, and you're actually able to reduce the contribution of direct taxes.
But sir, sorry to cut you in here, but even for indirect taxes, for let's say GST to be collected, you need consumption to happen in the economy, and that consumption is directly linked to what people are making as income. So if entry-level jobs don't find incomes because those jobs are going to cease to exist and middle-level folks find it hard to hold on to their jobs, then how will consumption take place in the economy?
No, you're right. I don't have an immediate answer of how it will pan out. It is a threat. But my own take is that, the consumption pattern is going to get a lot more differentiated.
Okay.
That is one. I think there are going to be many people who will have actually more surplus in their hands, because that is what I find in the talent approach. It will get more differentiated. I also think that, it is not going to be necessarily AI impacted jobs. But if people are willing to kind of do jobs different than what they had so-called studied for, or they had mentally aspired for, it is not jobs are going to go away. A lot of front-end jobs are going to still become and stay very relevant. A lot of jobs which actually, need creativity, need the human touch. I think Karthik, I personally think is that it's a good time for students, for parents, for academic institutions to actually make that shift from a class of jobs, which for some decades has been the principal by default focus, and start the jobs which are going to be still relevant. And this is, again, back to my thesis, it's a mindset shift. For example, geriatric support will become very important, more so from an Indian perspective. Healthcare, will become very important because, at the end of the day, there will be people who will be falling ill, there'll be money to be made. Now, you may not have thought about healthcare. You may not have thought about getting in this service support areas, but you might just want to still have just some kind of an engineering degree. I think some of that will get to be called to question. I'll give you one little anecdote just to drive home the point about, 25, 26 years ago, I remember that I was battling a situation when CAD/CAM was coming in.
All right.
Until that time, draftsmen were people who would physically draw out, using their instruments and on paper and stuff like that.
That's right.
I can tell you 80% of the so-called draftsman team, we had to let go. And it was very painful because 20% were willing to learn the new skill of CAD/CAM, which is not rocket science. It's almost AI is going to make it very intuitive. But the mindset is such that, no, I can't do it. I've never done it. And this is what I would suggest to youngsters thinking about career choices. Please read the writing on the wall, think different, and just do not do what, maybe a generation before you blindly did. And this is a big societal challenge for India, given the hype that has historically been created.
That's right. So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Jha, is that disruption is definitely coming. It's coming fast. You can either opt for fields where perhaps AI is not going to cause as much disruption. But if you do opt for fields which are getting disrupted, then it's important to upskill and be open and adaptable to this changing rate of technology and adopt these technologies. So my final question to you, Mr. Jha, is that whose responsibility is it for this upskilling to happen? Would it be the responsibility of the governments? For example, the United Arab Emirates has introduced AI in school curriculum. Or would it be the responsibility of CEOs to make sure that their employees are upskilled? Would it be HR professionals, HR functions like the ones that you have led? Or does the buck stop with employees themselves to, like you said, read the writing on the wall and upskill to save yourself?
I think the responsibility is with everyone, starting from the individual and the society. In India, the societal reconditioning is very, very important. We are still thinking very, very typically, and that is not what's going to work. The government will, of course, have to enable it. I think the academic institutions will have to rewire a lot of the curriculum from school through college to whatever else. I think companies, CEOs, CHROs, they'll all have to kind of think differently. See, the basic thesis is AI is not going to replace all humans everywhere. That's not going to happen. But humans with AI or with awareness and the willingness to leverage AI will surely replace humans without the willingness to leverage artificial intelligence. I think if you look at it very closely, this is going to be the problem because AI is going to make a lot of work fairly intuitive. Are you willing to leverage it? Are you willing to learn? We are not saying everyone has to be an AI a technologist. That's
Right.
not your job. But are you
Right.
willing to leverage? And at the end of the day, in a country like India, where even a rickshawala or a sabzi wala is very comfortable doing his transactions on UPI on a mobile,
Yeah.
I see that as a ray of hope. But the question is, the minute you kind of put it in the context of employment, people still continue to think historically. And that is something which has to change. So whether you're an entry level guy, whether you're in school, whether you're in the middle segments, or for that matter, you're at senior levels, the invitation is, are you willing to change and are you willing to change at speed and scale? That, I think, is where the government, the academia, the companies, and the society stroke individuals will all have to come together. And that is the big challenge.
All right. Well, willingness to change and change at scale. That's the word coming in. Mr. Praveer Jha, always a pleasure having you here on Newsline. Thank you so much for your time today.